wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go. Big 12 with the weekend where we find out even more evidence about everybody pretty much other than TCU. You get evidence even though it's a non-conference game with SMU. And we found a little bit out about Baylor last week against Kansas. We'll find out a lot more with Iowa State Saturday. J.J. Joe, Baylor great, former quarterback and also Baylor radio color analyst, joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio. I love getting your insight. JJ, evidence this weekend, right? It's every weekend, but this weekend you kind of know a little bit more or a lot more about Baylor?
Smoak, thanks for having me. I know I probably sound like I'm Lee Verb. Sorry, but I really do, because if you think about it, Smoak, Baylor really hadn't been tested, really. And I think, for us, Baylor, this is an important game because, number one, you finally get to gauge, how not just your team, but like, hey, your quarterback, little higher leverage moment. Mm-hmm. Our defense, are they as good as they played? And then our offensive line. Think about that. I mean, we've really been able to dominate whoever we play. And this week, you're going to lose a little bit more up front. And can these guys be resilient? So we'll learn a lot about Baylor. And really, just to get conference play going is great.
JJ, with Gary Bohannon, the way he's played the first 3 weeks, sometimes for the light to go on for somebody, they just have to be given the clear path. And with Charlie Brewer transferring, that was his clear path. Do you think that's a huge part of this, that he finally didn't have to really overcome anyone else? It was just his for the taking, and he was able to grab it?
That's part of it. I think more than anything, you want that door to open. And if Charlie is here, let's be frank. I mean, if Charlie's here, he's a 4-year starter. He's a Baylor great, and it's going to be hard for Gary to beat him out in spring. I think that helped a lot. But then ultimately, Gary had to go out and win the job. And I think, he went out. He was relaxed. He was calm. He knew he had put in the work. And I think for Gary, more than anything, nothing against Shapen and Dino, because I think those guys are fantastic competitors. But you could tell Gary had put in so much work that his work began to show. And when you work that much, you put in the grind, and you've put it in, when you get a chance to take the test you're actually pretty confident. And I could tell that in the spring. When I saw him in the spring, I think he was maybe the second or third quarterback that went in. And I could tell, he looks like he's the most calm. He looks the most comfortable. And, he moved the offense, and we've seen that to start the season.
JJ, if you're dealing with Gary right now and preparing for Iowa State, obviously it's a much different test than what he's faced so far. What are the keys? What are the things you're looking out for, being mindful of? Because obviously he's going to have a lot of live bullets flying at him that, he's been relatively untouched through these first 3 games. So what's kind of the mentality with Gary heading into this one?
Well, let me put it this way. Whatever Iowa State has in the chamber, he's going to see all of it. You know what I mean? Yeah. In preseason, a lot of times you will see it, but a lot of times those teams are outmanned. Texas State could do so much, but Baylor could run the ball so comfortably. So sometimes now he's going to be put in situations where it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9. And that's not something we've seen a ton of. Maybe we're able to run for 125 instead of 225. Well, then that means if we're only running for 125, 130, 140, that's not a bad day. You got to make that win. So that means, with his legs and through the air, he's going to have to make some plays happen, and he's going to have to throw against different coverages. He's going to have to be ready, I think, to use his feet to help Baylor go win a game. So he's going to see a lot of different coverages. He's going to see a lot more of an aggressive defense and a defense that can literally take his running game out probably of the game.
You've done a lot of different Baylor games at this point. Can you recall a moment where you ever saw a game that opened up with a tight end touchdown followed by a fullback touchdown for the Bears? And what kind of, throwing that into the mix, and then, we also saw a dash of Squirrel Williams there towards the end. And, there's not a lot of wrinkles to this offense, but it does seem like there are at least some more things that Iowa State has to think about moving into this Saturday.
Yeah, and that's just I'm downtown, so you just hear little sirens. But in any case, you got to go back, to 90s, when I was playing. You know, we would give Robert Strait the ball, he would score, and then we would throw it to a tight end. But no, I mean, it's great to see. I like the way Coach Grimes and Coach Mateos is how they're running this offense and how they have it coordinated, how the line works with the backs and now that works, the play action works together. So they're not coming to get me, I promise. But in any case, I'm really excited to see how physical this team has become. I mean, they're being molded into Coach Aranda's kind of personality, silent but deadly, I call it. I mean, they're not going to say much. They're going to enjoy themselves, but they're going to come at you, and win or lose, you're going to know you're going to be in a football game.
JJ, I mentioned this, I guess, sometime this week, and maybe even after the game a couple of weeks ago, but when you watch Khalil Keith, and we know the offensive line last year was just it was just not good in many ways. But when you watch him in one run, was it an Ebner run, I think it was, and he's 50 yards down the field, a 300-pound offensive lineman, and then with Tyquan Thornton, offensive big plays, wide receivers block downfield, but he's leading the way. Is that overrated to kind of show this team's chemistry or not?
No, it's not overrated, Smoak, because, I mean, that means guys want to play for each other. They want to make plays for each other. Coaches are rewarding that. They're showing that on film. So when you get in film session, I'm sure they probably do a group and then they do position, you know, coaches celebrating that stuff. And that means these guys like each other. They want to be successful. Coaches rewarding them with the attention, because think about linemen, they only get the number call when they're holding somebody or clip somebody. So it's great to see. I mean, to see Khalil doing that, I mean, and seeing Tyquan. I think Tyquan got just as much juice as RJ did on that touchdown. You know, he was down there blocking two dudes, and he was just as hyped. So that means this team is getting close together, getting really close, and that's what you need. I mean, you need talent, man, but I'm going to tell you, to win, you just got to have some chemistry and guys who want to play for each other. And we saw that in basketball. Those guys have talent, but, man, they loved each other. They wanted to play for each other, play with one another, and it makes a huge difference.
What do you think the big jump has been from the skill players? Outside of the running backs, obviously they have bigger holes to run, but even Treston Ebner is running through people now. I mean, he is lowering his shoulder. He's not trying to dance when he's downfield. He's punishing people. The wide receivers are playing stronger. What do you think the big jump is for them on that this year?
I think there's two things. Number one, I think you see guys going through a full spring and fall and summer understanding and learning the scheme, being coached. See, that's a big thing. Yeah, we don't think about that, but say like when Coach Fedora and all of them came in, you know, part of it is, you know, I can talk to you on film and show you stuff, but I mean, I need to coach you exactly how I want you to fit your style into this offense. I need to actually have you on the field and show you that. And last year, I think it just didn't fit. Nothing fit. So this year, I think, you know, you can tell Coach Grimes, Coach Mateos, they've been together. They've been through a spring with these young men. They've told all the backs, this is how we need you to run. This is how this offense works. And you can see it. I mean, Treston's running style is 180 degrees different from what it was last year and the years before. Treston 100% wanted to bounce everything. And now if you see Treston, he'll put that foot down and he's going north and south and he's running through tackles. And I hope to see that on Saturday. But all that stuff fits. And you can tell these guys have established a mentality. Look, we run through tackles and we finish forward. And that's how we play. And they bought into it.
J.J. Joe with us, former Baylor quarterback, Baylor radio as well. What would a win mean? Does that legitimize everything because of who it is? Sometimes you can overreact, underreact, or whatever. What would it mean?
Smoak, I'm not going to overstate this, but, I mean, we're right where we were in 2019.
Uh-huh.
I remember when they were asking, what are we going to do in 2019? I said, well, we can be 5-7 or we could be 9-0 going into, like, the last few weeks. And I think we're close to it now. We have, I think, a few tougher games than we did in 2019 between now and then. But this one, that confidence meter, for people who, I hope most people listen have probably played, but, you know, when you get to win and you get this certain feeling, and it's a confidence that comes along with, you know, things are being validated. Coach is telling me to do this, it's being validated. This scheme, he says, if we do this, we'll win. It's being validated. Now, these guys know they haven't played anybody. And I'm saying that nicely. They know it because they've heard it from their homeboys at different schools. Now they're going to play the number 14, 15 ranked team in the country. You go beat them, then all of a sudden you're not hearing any more of that stuff. Everything coach is telling has been validated, and now that confidence meter shoots up even higher, and now you know, hey, we probably can beat anybody on our schedule. And to be honest with you, Baylor from here on out will be able to beat anybody on their schedule, and they'll be able to lose to anybody on their schedule.
Yep.
Right? I think that's true. And this week is huge for that confidence meter and for everything Coach Aranda and Coach Grimes and Coach Mateos have been teaching. This is going to validate a lot.
You know, that when they went 11-3 in 2019, there was the Texas Tech butt fumble in overtime. There was the tight game with Iowa State. There also was a game twice against Oklahoma, which they could have won. But there's always like a pack of 4 to 6 games that either make you 7-5, 5-7, and sometimes, if you're fortunate, you go even higher than that as well. Craig has brought this up, and we've discussed this as well. Is there any concern on your part that they're not getting much of a pass rush?
It sort of is, but I know that Coach Roberts really probably hadn't had to pull much out. You know, he probably had to do a little bit more than he wanted to against Texas State just because of the way the game went. Didn't have to do anything against Texas Southern and Kansas. We jumped on them early. They hung around a little bit, but I think, it's concerning in the sense that I'm just wondering which coach is telling the guys up front. It seemed like when we played, say in 19, when you saw Bravion, and I'm comparing him to Apu, and they're two different players. Bravion, usually we saw him take gaps. I usually saw Bravion, he was always in the backfield. I saw a little bit more of that of Apu on Saturday. The first game, I'm not sure if that's what coach is telling him to do, but he seemed like he was looking. And he's too tall. He is tall for a defensive lineman, for a nose guard. At 6'4", anybody can block him if he plays 6'4", 6'3", 6'4". So he has to battle fatigue and playing high. If he plays high, he can be blocked by any team in our conference. If he plays with his pad level and coach tells him, hey, look, I want you to take this gap, you go, and he keeps his pad level at a reasonable level, nobody will be able to block him. So I'm interested to see how coach coaches him on Saturday, because these are some big dudes who can block at Iowa State. And if they tell him to take gaps, be aggressive and take gaps, I like that game plan. If we ask our guys to absorb blocks and let Terrell and Jalen and Dylan run, I'm not crazy about that. Why do you say? Because these guys from Iowa State ran for 200 yards on us last year. So they have the horses that can go. So you got to make those guys, I think, you got to play on their side of the line of scrimmage as much as you can. So I want to see more, but I think, depending on how this game goes, I think we'll see Coach Roberts dial up a little bit more this Saturday.
All right, JJ, thank you very much. I can't wait. I love games like this. You get to learn, like Auburn, Penn State, not saying it's that national level, but you get to find out. And which of these Big 12 games, Iowa State at Baylor, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Texas Tech and Texas, or Kansas State, Oklahoma State, might give us more than any of the others? As far wow, this is kind of,
Man, that's a hard one. That's a hard. I be honest, I really love our game, but I'm going to tell you, not being at home, I think that WVA Oklahoma game is going to tell us a lot, because Oklahoma's kind of been, because they just haven't been hitting on all cylinders. And WVA, they played well. I think they have that one loss at Maryland. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to say a lot, number one, about where Oklahoma is. If Oklahoma takes them to the woodshed or wins convincingly, I think we'll say, well, okay, the Sooners are back where we thought they were. If WVA goes in there and wins, I'm thinking we're going to say, like, those guys, they're going to be a tough out, right? Mm-hmm. So I would say this first week, that's the one. But as a home, I'm going to say, man, if we get this one, we're gonna have a number by a name, and I'm gonna be ready to go then.
Yep, you will. Absolutely. JJ, as always, man, thank you. Appreciate what you do, and thanks for your time.
All right, Smoak, appreciate it.
That's JJ Joe, former Baylor quarterback, Baylor